Welcome back. You're watching Mirror at 1 with me, Nivedhana Prabhu. Now, Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar made a rather unusual statement, claiming that even God couldn't transform Bengaluru overnight. Now, while his point about long-term urban planning holds merit, invoking divine incapability seems like an odd way to justify slow progress. Shivakumar, in fact, spoke about ensuring uniformity in infrastructure with standard designs for bus stops, metro pillars, and traffic junctions. However, his remark has now drawn sharp criticism from the BJP, which dismissed them as excuses to mask governance failures. The party argued that Bengaluru needs a strong administrator, claiming Shivakumar lacks the capability to drive real development. Listen in.
Within 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, ಈ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಇರುವಂತ ಭಗವಂತ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ನಡೆದಾಡೋದು ಏನು ಮಾಡಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಕಷ್ಟ ಇದೆ. ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಲಿ, ಯೋಜನೆಯನ್ನು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
Congress did not do anything when they were in power, whether it was in Central or in Karnataka. Whenever there was a non-Congress government, a lot of activities took place, and that is what has changed India. If a Singapore can change, if a Dubai can change, if Germany can change, if Japan can change, why can't not India and why can't not Bangalore? As a Bangalore Development Minister, D.K. Shivakumar lacks the skill of developing Bangalore. You only need an appropriate attitude to develop Bangalore. If they don't know how to administrate Karnataka or Bangalore, they should quit.
Well, surely doesn't matter which government it is. Appropriate attitude and accountability is what Bengalurans still hope for. But joining me on the show this afternoon are my guests. Let me take that opportunity to introduce all of them. G.S. Prashant, spokesperson BJP, Priya Chetty Rajgopal, prominent citizen voice, as well as Varun Purohit, political analyst. Good afternoon to all of you. Namaskara. Thank you for taking the time out. Varun, मैं आपसे पहले शुरू करूंगी. जहां तक सवाल है जो D.K. शिवकुमार ने बोला है, और मैं बेंगलुरु की निवासी खुद हूं, तो अगर देखा जाए, चाहे कोई भी गवर्नमेंट हो, अकाउंटेबिलिटी होता ही नहीं है. और जिस तरह से D.K. शिवकुमार का कहना है कि ये भगवान भरोसे है, अल्टीमेटली ये भी देखा जा सकता है जब इलेक्शंस होता है, चुनाव होता है, तो बड़ी बड़ी प्रॉमिसेस होती हैं कि हम सिटीजन्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से अकाउंटेबिलिटी लेके आएंगे, रोड्स को फिक्स करेंगे, लेकिन विजुअल्स भी अगर देखा जाए, कहानी तो वही है. और अगर D.K. शिवकुमार जैसे जो ब्रांड बेंगलुरु की इमेज के लिए भी स्ट्रॉन्ग होल्ड है, अगर वो ही विजन नहीं देख पा रहे, तो सिटीजन्स किस तरह ये देखे?
आपने 2-3 पॉइंट अपने क्वेश्चन में कर दिए. सिटीजन्स तो खुद की रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी समझते नहीं पूरे इंडिया में, आपने देखा होगा. और जो ट्रैफिक लॉगिंग की समस्या है, अभी आप इससे पहले जिनको दिखा रहे थे, सिंगापुर दुबई का एग्जांपल दे रहे थे. सिंगापुर में कोई व्हीकल खरीद नहीं सकता ऐसे, जैसे इंडिया में एक घर में 5-5 मेंबर्स है तो 5-5 व्हीकल खरीद रहे हैं. झूठे एफिडेविट देते हैं, पार्किंग की स्पेस नहीं तो भी देते हैं. तो पैन इंडिया प्रॉब्लम हो रखी है. और जो भगवान भरोसे वर्ड जो है, लोकोक्ति, मुहावरे, बोलचाल की डे टू डे कॉन्वर्सेशन होता है, इसमें इस प्रकार की भाषा बोली जाती है. जैसे थाली कटोरे मुख्यमंत्री प्रधानमंत्री जी बजवा रहे थे, तो वो भी एक बोलचाल की भाषा ही मान ली जाए. 2 करोड़ रोजगार दे रहे थे, ये जुमले भी भगवान भरोसे हैं इसके अंदर. तो D.K. शिवकुमार तो उन्होंने तो सच बोला है. अगर वो भी जुमले खरीदते नहीं, 3 साल में हम ऐसे कर देंगे, वर्ल्ड क्लास कर देंगे, ट्रैफिक सिस्टम ठीक कर देंगे, ये चीज अगर कोई सच बोल रहा है तो उसको अप्रिशिएट करना चाहिए बजाय क्रिटिसिज्म के. लेकिन आजकल क्रिटिसिज्म करना एक फैशन हो गई है.
खुद इनिशिएटिव लिया है ना वरुण जी. जहां तक बात है उनका स्टेटमेंट का, ब्रांड बेंगलुरु उन्होंने ही बोला. और जस्ट 15 दिन पहले ही हमने देखा है कि 1 लाख करोड़ इन्वेस्टमेंट भी हुई है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रिवैम्प के लिए. तो वो कहाँ जा रहा है फिर?
नहीं, उन्होंने ये पूरा प्लान भी तो दिया है ना आपको, 3 साल का, 4 साल का, ये करेंगे, मेट्रोज ऐसे चलाएंगे. लेकिन वो भगवान भरोसे वर्ड तो एक बोलचाल की भाषा का वर्ड है, जिसको आज की जो बीजेपी, मोदी सेंट्रिक बीजेपी, जिसको जैसे लोकल डायलेक्ट होता है, हमारे यहाँ लोकल डायलेक्ट में वर्ड होता है खोड़ ले, क्योंकि हर चीज को क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं. तो वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी मोदी सेंट्रिक, अटल जी अडवाणी जी की बात नहीं कर रहा. आजकल हर बात, अभी कुंभ में गए D.K. शिवकुमार जब, तो अप्रिशिएट करने लगे, दूसरे कांग्रेस के नेता नहीं गए, शिवकुमार क्यों गए? इस प्रकार का जो मोदी काल में मानसिक स्तर, मेंटल लेवल है, जो इन्होंने गिराया है देश के अंदर, वो बड़ा चैलेंजिंग है आने वाली जनरेशंस के लिए, कि हर बात में किसी भी बात को बस क्रिटिसिज्म निकालना किसी बात, मतलब दूसरा, एक्सेप्ट बीजेपी, मोदी सेंट्रिक बीजेपी, कोई भी अगर कोई अपने वर्ड्स प्रयोग में ले, सेंटेंसेस बोले, वर्ड्स ले, वोकेबुलरी ले, तो वो बीजेपी जो मोदी सेंट्रिक है उसके अनुसार ही वो वर्ड्स बोले। तो एक बेंगलोर को उन्होंने खुद ने, आप डीके शिव कुमार की कैपेबिलिटीज को जानते हो, और बिल्कुल सही ढंग से बोला, सच बोला, उसको क्रिटिसाइज करने की बजाय अप्रिशिएट करना चाहिए, पॉजिटिव लेना चाहिए। सिटीजन्स की जो आप बात कर रहे हैं, सिटीजन्स को भी देखना चाहिए। हमारे यहाँ तो पड़ोसी पड़ोसी के बाहर ही कचरा फेंकता है, पार्किंग सही नहीं करते, इतना कब एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को सुधारो? जब तक सिविल जो अपने
नहीं
सिटीजन्स है
बटे
वो अपने सिविल
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के
राइट्स,
बारे में ये आपको भी पता है, अगर बेंगलुरु की रोड्स की बात किया जाए तो समथिंग हैज टू बी डन इन टर्म्स फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट्स पर्सपेक्टिव आल्सो. लेट मी गेट इन अ वर्ड फ्रॉम Priya. We heard what Varun had to make of it. In fact, he feels like it is okay for DKS to be so vocal about the fact that this is a vision that might have a lot of challenges, and rightly so. It's a big city, you're looking at urban planning challenges, but at the same time, like we put that into perspective, it is this current government that did state that they would be looking at the brand Bengaluru, and citizens are of course going to be the backbone of this, because these are promises made during election season, so they have to deliver on that as well.
True. To agree with my previous panelist, I think it's honest of the Deputy CM to have mentioned that this is really a problem that is difficult to bite into. While his comment, strikes fear into my heart, because if this is this is the kind of response to a huge problem that Bangaloreans are facing, then I don't know where else we're going to go. But I appreciate his honesty. I also appreciate the fact there was a forum like Namma Raste, which is at least allowing different stakeholders to come together and talk about this. There's also a concept of too little too late. We've been talking about traffic forever, but we've always talked about it as a dying, impossible situation that we just have to deal with. That's been the attitude, and I think that's really wrong. From 2016 is when there's been pressure. It's almost like the government said, oh, I didn't know about public transport. Oh, I didn't know about metro. I just cannot understand. And when you see a city growing, how is it our planners have not thought about transport and an integrated transport system as something that needs to be done? Why did a group of citizens have to come together and, sort of push the buses, push the metro, push public transport? Today, despite a comment, the launch of suburban rail, which is such a critical and a much more reasonable way of moving transport, moving people forward. We forget we're not moving vehicles, we're moving people. Hardly anything has moved on the suburban rail, which will be a very big boon for Bangalore. Bus, a lot of good progress has happened. The EV vehicles, as many people have said, have not really come into the stage. But the biggest issue here is, apart from the too little too late, there's no point in belaboring the point. We are here right now. You've got one of the most engaged citizenry, which is happy to come in. We've got phenomenal academics in ISC and others who are applying themselves to this problem. So I think it's about time we really sort of applied what are the solutions, which are not necessarily short term, and which are a little bit more integrated, long term and macro, which can be done. And the most important thing right now is to focus on public transport. The most important is to put together and give teeth to the Bangalore, Urban Land Transport Authority. I mean, that is where the integrated form of whether it is whether it is the RTO, whether it's the police, whether it's metro, bus, and good old, simple people like us who are pedestrians or cyclists also need to be involved. We forget people in this whole concept of transport. We forget it's not just about vehicles, it's mainly about people. This attitude is what has really been letting down Bangalore,
Right.
because our knee-jerk responses, whether it is a tunnel road or whether it is, metro is a very expensive project and it's very much required, but it tends to get more mind share simply because it's 1,000 crores per kilometer, and it has made such a difference already. But we need more suburban rail. We have the largest population of 2 lakh, of two-wheelers in the world. We are growing. The time taken for traffic to move has gone up by 6,000% since 1990. You've got statistics which are just so alarming. But again, it's very easy to say, oh my God, it's alarming, so let's step back. What have we got to do? We've got this, when Mr. Shivakumar says that we have to look at this in a more structured and execute and implement the strategy, I'm glad that he has understood that we cannot do a knee-jerk reactive response to traffic. We really need to get that integrity through. Bring in citizens, academics, experts to give a solution which involves looking at the high private vehicle ownership we have, the poor public transport, the concentration of IT corridors, which creates a lot of issues. The fact that our urban development has been a problem.
True.
Poor road quality, for example. You just have a drop of rain and then we're dead. Now, BBMP's primary role seems to be on infrastructure and
Yeah.
roads, and we are failing on that. Our AI has been tried for traffic management, and it can prove very, very, impactful. But I don't think it's being utilized. I mean, I know there's a new artificial intelligence system that's been put in. Now, in my area, for example, you will see A, which is for automatic, and then MNL for manual, and it's more manual. So, which means we go back to the good old trusted thing because why? Because VIPs need to go past. Those are the things that we react to, and that's such a pity. Traffic signals and junctions is something that the police really need to work with. The number of one-ways we have are beyond what is necessary. Today, we are fighting for, and we have to look at the
True.
impact on public as well. We can't look at everything from the traffic lens. For example, we as citizens are so appalled that the 2 small days that we've got for traffic-free Coven Park is now being, leached into by the traffic because they want to have traffic on Saturdays and Sundays as well. Now, this puts pressure on the park. The fact is, such places cannot be also misused just because, our VIPs need to move or people need to move. We have to find a way around it. And one ways and better infrastructure, better planning is important. But the conversation essentially has to go back to 2 things, which is a integrated transport authority. The BMRTA has no teeth, has no functioning, and has no ownership. And the second thing is the absolute and complete focus of public transport, where the ministers come forward and say, we've got to make this happen. This is for brand Bengaluru is not important. For
So it has
living
to be a
Bengaluru.
synergy of responsible citizen voices who then, of course, hold the government accountable, and rightly so. G.S. Prashant, I'm going to come back to some of the significant points that Priya and Varun have made. But since we're talking about how Bengalurians essentially look at this, let's listen into some of those voices first.
Actually, a lot of people are coming from other places and they are not going back. That is also very big, this thing. And one more thing is, nowadays the metro, everything is okay, but still there are a lot of changes has to be made regarding these roads and all. Development is a nil now, as at present now.
It is unfortunate for a politician saying this. We nominate them, we elect them to make it proper. So it is unfortunate for Bangaloreans. We are a little bit disappointed with the statement.
J.S. Prashant, coming to you on a lighter note, I think the roads of Bengaluru is as good as my Hindi. It's always work in progress. But the truth of the matter is, doesn't matter which government is in power. This situation has been around. But with what DKS has said, how does the BJP look at this?
See, look at it from the present Congress, which is probably slaves of the Gandhi family. Because I need to respond in the same language to the other panelists when he was talking about BJP. So the current Congress, which is a slave under the Gandhi family, has nothing to offer here. And the same Deputy Chief Minister made tall claims of filling up all potholes. Forget filling up all potholes. Now you have a new one getting created every moment there's a small amount of rain. So therefore, infrastructure has taken a backseat, because if you look at the budgetary allocations that what Siddaramaiah has made in the last 2 years for infrastructure, it is much less than what he wants to give it for the welfare schemes. Therefore, it's very clear that infrastructure is not on their mind at all. And when it comes to tunnel roads, he got the DPR done in record 3 months, which had copy-paste of some other states. And then the cost of the project went up from 8,000 crores to 12,000 crores during the time the DPR has prepared itself. So he's pushing for tunnel roads on one end without even looking at other viable alternatives. And why is the delay? When Metro has to acquire some land, why is the delay? Pay the compensation and then acquire the lands and ensure that Metro Phase 3 goes on smoothly. This is not on their agenda. Their agenda is only to politicize and now come back and say, even God can't help it. Therefore, Congress need not worry about it. God will definitely help who will actually work for it. You cannot blame God for your inefficiency. You have to put in the effort and then the results will follow. If Congress, after having 135 people, is not able to manage the global city of Bangalore, I think it's high time that the DCM, as Bangalore Development Minister, steps down and probably appoints a nodal officer to take care of Bangalore, because at least they would try to put some sense into what's happening here. There has to be some method to the madness. You can't make these random statements saying that even God can't save, because he goes on a city tour, inspects after the rains, and now comes back and says we can't do it. And look at the forest cover which is eroded, and government is not taking any steps on that. These were the claims that the Congress made before they came to power, saying they will clear up all of this in 100 days, 200 days, 500 days. Now it's 20 months. Where is the result? The result has to be shown. You now cannot say, you can't appreciate now Shivakumar's statement saying he's been honest enough, which means you accepted that he lied 2 years ago when he wanted to come to power, that he will do it. Which means, are people not seeing
वरुण,
through
क्या
this?
आप
We can't
प्रशांत
really
के
give
स्टेटमेंट
some
से
points to
सहमत
honesty
है?
here.
जिस तरह से अगर एक विजन है और उसको डिलीवर नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो आप नोडल ऑफिसर को लेके आइए जो जिन्होंने सिटीजन्स को बताया, या उनके और से, गवर्नमेंट की ओर से जो विजन है वो कंप्लीट हो जाए।
नहीं, फिर ये सजेशन सभी जगह पूरे कंट्री में लागू कर दीजिए ना। नोएडा में भी कर दीजिए, एनसीआर में भी कर दीजिए, गुड़गांव में भी कर दीजिए, आज बीजेपी रूल्ड स्टेट्स है, वहां क्यों नहीं लागू हो सकता?
नहीं,
ये जो मैंने आपको कहा था ना,
जो नोएडा है यूपीए में बीजेपी का सरकार इतना अच्छा काम कर रहा है, हम भगवान के भरोसे को नहीं छोड़ दिया। नहीं, पुरोहित जी, हमने डेवलपमेंट का मामला भगवान पे भरोसे पे नहीं छोड़ा। आपका डीके शिव कुमार जो है इतना पैसा खाता है, अभी भगवान के ऊपर छोड़ दिया। So, आप कांग्रेस का परसेंटेज आपको पता है, पूरा देश में कांग्रेस को कितना सीट मिला करके सबको पता है।
I'll have to interject you there. Let Varun make his point and then I'll give you an opportunity to counter that.
हिम्मत है तो ब्रांड बैंगलोर का बात करो। पुरोहित जी, हिम्मत है तो ब्रांड बैंगलोर का बात करो। यूपी में कैसे चल रहा है, तो मेरा कैसे चल रहा है, पूरा दुनिया देख रही है, पूरा दुनिया देख रही है कि कुंभ मेला में कैसे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है करके। आपको ताकत है तो ब्रांड बैंगलोर बात करो, ब्रांड बैंगलोर बात करो।
पॉल्यूशन बोर्ड किसके अंडर में आता है? 73 प्लेसेस में वाटर चेक किया उन्होंने, और उसको आप हाथ नहीं लगा सकते, नहा नहीं सकते। जबरदस्ती आप धर्म करके पब्लिक को बेवकूफ बना रहे हो, कह रहे हो कुंभ कर रहे हो। आप नोएडा पे बोलो,
50 करोड़ लोग पहुंच गया कुंभ मेला में। आपका मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे का स्टेटमेंट के बाद
Varun, we are digressing from the subject. Prashant is well. I'd have to interject to both of you. Let me take that point across to Priya. Priya, one thing that is evident is, like we stated earlier as well, when we've looked at a city like Bengaluru, Prashant, I have to interject you there because both of you are, of course, not discussing about the fact that what our citizens would perhaps want to know better in terms of the aspect of that statement that's been made. Priya, what I wanted to know from you is, given the aspect that there is this political bickering, but the truth of the matter is even the previous government wasn't able to do much of it. In fact, if you talk about vision also for Bengaluru, that has not been there since many years, in fact, decades. Perhaps the last time we looked at a vision and Bengalurans could also look at that change was during SM Krishna's tenure.
Yeah, that's actually really sad. The fact is, even citizens like us, we experience a problem. But if you look at the person I was, say, 20 years ago, I didn't really know I was either informed enough, empowered enough, or had a voice enough to make a difference. We are all, we're working people. So we look at ourselves as being governed rather than being participatory. I think that's a very old mindset, but that is today's generation, thankfully, is much, much more aggressive about, standing their ground and asking for more. And I think that's really required. But if you look at the fact that there was no push at all for any form of integrated transport, and there was no real, real application of mind as to this being a problem that needed to be dealt with head on rather than with band-aids. The steel flyover was a band-aid. There were many other little band-aids that kept coming on. And that is something which I think is really worrying, because that will handle it only up to a certain point. And this, you are absolutely spot on that we've gone through, say, in the last 20 years, 5 or 6 different governments. I have never really seen a concerted effort. But what I do see now in the last, say, 5 years has been a recognition of the ownership of the problem with the government. Earlier, it was a lot like, you people have so many cars, you people don't use the roads properly. It was a lot. So, and you know how defensive and guilt-ridden citizens are. The moment you tell us we're responsible for something, we say, yes, 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 we've done. I mean, the one thing that has happened is a complete washing of hands many years ago. Now that's changed. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna and saying, okay, let's be grateful for these small things, because it is both honest and terrifying to hear what the Deputy Chief Minister said. While this is an honest statement, the confirmation of helplessness is what is really deafeningly frightening. But I do believe there is a movement forward. Look at the
Absolutely.
fact that
And on that note, I'm just taking that last remark to Varun. Well, you're right, Priya. In fact, with the fact that, when you read into that particular statement, one could also help wonder what the sorry state of affairs the city has gotten into, because ultimately it is the Silicon Valley of the country. Varun, आप एक point कहना चाहते हैं? Closing remarks आपका?
मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ, हम कितना भी डिस्कशन कर लें, जब तक अभी जो आपने किसी व्यूअर का दिखाया था, जब तक अर्बनाइजेशन जो बजट है, अर्बनाइजेशन कर दिया तो गांव से पब्लिक आती जा रही है, पॉपुलेशन सिटीज की बढ़ती जा रही है। और दूसरा जो अभी बात चल रही है इंटीग्रेटेड ट्रैफिक सिस्टम, वो जब कैसे करोगे आप? कहीं कॉम्प्लेक्सेस बन रहे हैं, कहीं जैसे मेरा एरिया है, इट वाज नंबर 1 पॉश एरिया ऑफ माय सिटी, पर कॉम्प्लेक्सेस बन गए, उसमें कितने रेजिडेंट्स आ गए, तो कितने व्हीकल आ गए, तो आपको जो ऑटोमोबाइल पॉलिसी है वो सिंगापुर स्टाइल में आपको करनी पड़ेगी। आप कंट्रोल करो ऑटोमोबाइल पोजीशन को। इसके किसी ने एक ऑटोमोबाइल ले लिया तो 5 साल तक दूसरा नहीं ले सकता, उसमें सुधार करने की जरूरत है। आपने एक घर में एक ऑटोमोबाइल ले लिया, 5-5 ऑटोमोबाइल खड़े, तो वो जो ट्रैफिक सिस्टम, तो जो कार्स हैं, जो ऑटोमोबाइल है, इसी से तो प्रॉब्लम आ रही है। इसको सॉल्व करने की जरूरत है। पॉपुलेशन एंड ऑटोमोबाइल दो को कंट्रोल करना का जरूरी है, जब जाकर के प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व होगी। कितनी गवर्नमेंट्स आ जाए, ये चलता जाएगा, आपकी पब्लिक बढ़ती जाएगी, कार्स बढ़ती जाएंगी, तो ट्रैफिक जैम होता जाएगा। आपने एक रोड बना दी, टनल बना दी, फिर एक मेट्रो का एक स्टेशन बनाया, फिर बढ़ाना पड़ेगा। यू हैव टू कंट्रोल पॉपुलेशन एंड ऑटोमोबाइल बोथ।
All right, so you believe those are the loopholes and challenges, and that's something that even Priya did put into perspective. But Varun, Prashant, as well as Priya, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, sharing with us your perspective as well. One can really hope that optimism doesn't, remain the middle name of Bengalurians, and there will be some change and light at the end of that tunnel flyover, if not a tunnel. But on that note, I want to thank all of you once again, and that's all I have for you in this edition of Mirror at 1 with me, Nivedhana Prabhu. Thank you very much for watching.